Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I am Diehard 3.75 and in this video I've got an oldie but a goodie. I pulled out something that I've had in the collection for a long time and decided to open it. It is the Mezco Hellboy and Golden Army Soldier 2-pack.
Welcome to the party, pal!
Okay, so let's quickly look at the packaging here. Now, the story behind this is I have had this for a very long time. You can see right here, it does say 2009 Con Exclusive Mezco. Um, I have not had this since 2009. I probably got this around 2019 or so, and have had it in my Minton box, Minton card collection. In my last live stream, I mentioned how I was kind of thinning out the Minton card, Minton box collection, and just trying to pare it down a little bit. And with the recent announcement that Boss Fight Studio is going to be doing Hellboy figures, though I don't know what scale, I decided, you know what, it's time to open this. It's the only thing I have from Hellboy. In fact, I had forgot I had it. And when I did the Batman animated series car, I think in that video I mentioned that it's the first item I've ever Mezco item, if I'm remembering correctly, only Mezco item I have. But in fact, that was probably the first one I've ever opened. Um, but I had this, and it's just been in a tub, and decided, why am I holding on to it? I should just open it up. It does say it's 3.75-inch scale here. I've actually never seen this movie. Here's all these gears in the gold. You can see the figures in the through the plastic. There's a little bit of glare there. Here's the side of the box. Here's the back of the box. I guess there was more stuff, um, but these are not. I don't think they're little kind of Funko type figures. They're not really action figures as I sort of perceive action figures. Nice Hellboy on the top. Nothing really on the bottom. I'm guessing that they were giving these out, or you could buy them at some con. Maybe it was Comic Con. I don't know which con, or maybe they were taking this to all the cons that year and selling it. But I ended up with mine. I think I got mine through eBay. But again, it was probably around 2019. So I've had this about 5 or 6 years now, and I'm ready to open it. So that's the packaging. You can just see Hellboy through the glass there or through the plastic, and a big guy in the back. I'm not sure how much articulation that big guy is going to have. I'm hoping the little guy, the Hellboy here, he is going to be super articulated, but we'll find out together. All right, let's get him open. All right, so let's talk Mezco Hellboy. Very, very cool figures. I've only had them out for a few minutes, but I have posed them and played with them a bit here. I could say that it's a pretty good set. Let's talk accessories really quick. Did come with this stand here. It is just a kind of a plain black stand with a sticker over the top, one peg hole, or I'm sorry, one peg for the peg holes at the bottom of his feet there. Does work quite well, but you don't really need it because the figure does stand pretty good on his own. Talk about him in a second. And he also came with this pistol. The pistol does articulate a little bit. It has a little hinge there. You can close it like that. It does fit in this nice workable holster that he has here on his thigh. Let's talk about the big guy first, though. Um, Not a lot of articulation to this guy, but he does have um, great paint job, great sculpt, and great size. Um, let's do articulation real quick. He does have a waist swivel, so get that out of the way. And he does have a swivel at the shoulder and a swivel at the forearm. This is for both arms, and that's pretty much it from what I can tell. Um, it looks like there's joints here, but they're actually, I think, just sculpt because he is a robot. They sculpted in a lot of places that look like they could articulate, but they do not. This doesn't go any. This is the pose he's in, but they did at least think it through that when the arms come up and how his hands are open, he can grip a figure. He can grip something. But I think where this figure really, hits the mark is all of the intricate sculpting throughout the figure, even all these little screws here, all the wash, the paint over this guy, even the red here, sort of the lava. But the sculpt is just very, very intricate, very well done. Paint really well done. You could see just all the sculpting all the way around, just all the way through him, every piece. So very cool. I'm sure he photographs really well. Um, Nice piece, big plastic, a lot of plastic, um, good paint, good sculpt. It's too bad he doesn't, have a few more points of articulation, particularly in the lower body. He is about just over 6 inches tall when I measured him out, but a very cool figure, very unique in my collection. All right, let's talk about Hellboy now. He's kind of the main event. He's why we're here, I think. Um, Very cool. The pistol fits right into this hand. Perfect. Finger goes right through the trigger guard, just like it's supposed to. His articulation is a little bit of the time, but it's actually a little bit better than some of the stuff that we get nowadays. Again, like this guy, I think where he really shines is the sculpt and the paintwork um, throughout the figure. See here on the arm, all that sculpting, all the shading on the jacket. It's really good. Even the sculpting here in his pants. You can see that, okay? But just a really, really solid figure. Articulation, he's got like a ball joint at the head. You can look down pretty good. You can look up, not very far up. Where he can really look up is he does have an ab crunch, so he can lean back a little bit, but he can definitely crunch forward pretty well, a little bit better. Um, the arms are different than each other. They both have ball hinged shoulders, and they both have a bicep swivel. But this one has nothing below that bicep swivel. There's no articulation in this red hand, red arm. It is what it is. It's a fist. You could spin it, you can lift it up, and you can lift it down, but that's pretty much it. This one has the ball jointed shoulder, the bicep swivel. He has a single hinge at the elbow, and that's it. Nothing in the wrist, which is okay because he can swivel, so you still can turn that pistol, any which way, but it's from the bicep, not from the wrist. I mentioned he does have an ab crunch. He's got ball hinged hips with a thigh swivel, a single hinge at the knee, and he's got these like hinged ankles. It does not swivel, it won't go left and right, but that's okay because he swivels at the thigh. And with that hinge, and this is, shout out to those companies that aren't giving us ankle articulation. Um, it's not a rocker ankle, but because it hinges up and down and you have that that the thigh swivel, you can get him in dynamic poses because you could get those feet to lay flat. So he doesn't have to just be straight up and down. He can be bent over. You can get him in, certain kinds of poses that you can't get other figures in. And it does help, I'll admit, it does help because he has a tail and you can kind of lean him on that tail. But you can see you could never achieve this pose with a figure that didn't have ankle articulation. I mentioned the tail, so let's talk about it really quick. There are 2 points of articulation on it. There's one swivel here at towards the base, and then another about midway through. The tail is curved, so like I said, you can kind of turn it if you need. If you really want to achieve a nice, say a falling back pose, you can use the tail to lean him back. So really good figure. Um, Paint on the eyes, just perfect. Just great sculpt. You see the belt there. Just a nice wash over him, over both figures. Really solid, really solid. I looked before I opened this guy, because I considered, keep it mint on card, sell it. He's going for, I think the ones that I saw, he's from, 120 to $140 this set. I don't know if it's worth that anymore. There's not a lot of representation for Hellboy at this scale. Hopefully, Boss Fight will be doing that soon, though. We don't know yet. I don't know if it's worth that. It definitely wasn't worth it to me to keep it boxed and in a tub and never open it. I'm glad I opened it, but it is an expensive set, so I don't know how easy it would be to get. You might be able to just get this guy or just that guy's, separately a little bit cheaper if you didn't want to buy the box set. Think eBay is really the only place to get this now if you're interested at all. But I do think it's worth it, and it is a really good figure. Like I said, I think the articulation is better than a lot of the lines that we're getting now, and the paint and the sculpt are far better than a lot of the lines that we're getting now. Um, I wish that this would is a I think a really good alternative um, to the companies that don't want to give us a rocker ankle. If you give us this hinge at the ankle and a thigh swivel, you don't need to re-engineer a rocker ankle, which I think it requires a little bit more putting together. Um, but it's out there. Mezco thought of it. This is how Mezco solved the problem. Remember, this is from 2009. So we're talking good 16, 15, 16 years old at the time of me doing this video. And this figure holds up. It's good or better than some of the stuff that we're getting now, simply from the paint and the sculpt. But when you add in all these extra points of articulation, this is a winner. This is definitely a winner, guys. So I can recommend him. I just don't know how easy he is going to be for people to get. I'm glad I picked him up. Glad I opened him. I'm glad I got to enjoy him. This guy's going right on my space station. Um, he's going to fit right in, right on the streets. The streets of Folsom 11. This guy, I'm not sure what I'll do. He's a cool looking robot. I'll use him for something. Um, but he does feel, like I said, at the legs a little bit fragile because these don't move, and you want to move them. They're very thin right there. So it feels like they could break, but you get just enough out of this guy. And he's got good balance, big piece of plastic, great sculpt, great paint. So overall, a really good set um, for the folks that got it in 2009. And they've had it all this time. Cheers to them. Um, I didn't know too much about this. I can't remember how I found out about this set, but I did. Picked it up. Glad I did. That is the video, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Did any of you guys have this? Let me know. Let me know. It's an older set, so be curious to know if I'm the only one. There can't be too many of them out there. They are going pretty costly on the secondary market. That's the video, guys. Thank you for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and if you're inclined to, please subscribe. I do appreciate it. I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.